In this lesson, we will discuss web and DNS filtering. Now, the internet is a vast and complex place that is filled with valuable information and resources, but it is also filled with distractions and potential malicious threats. To ensure our safety and efficiency online, many organizations will employ various filtering techniques to prevent their users from accessing malicious websites or web pages that may cause an employee to lose hours of productivity by scrolling social media or other websites designed to keep the users online for hours at a time. To help overcome these threats, organizations can implement either web filtering or DNS filtering to control which areas of the internet an employee can access. Let's cover web filtering first. Web filtering, also known as content filtering, is a technique used to restrict or control the content a user can access on the internet. This kind of web filtering is a crucial tool for businesses, educational institutions, and parents to ensure safe and productive internet use is occurring. There are several different types of web filtering used by organizations, including agent-based web filtering, centralized proxies, URL scanning, content categorization, block rules, and reputation-based filtering. First up, we have agent-based web filtering. Agent-based web filtering involves installing a small piece of software known as an agent on each device that will require web filtering. The agent will then monitor and control the device's internet activity by enforcing the organization's web usage policies. This agent-based web filtering methodology is particularly effective for organizations with remote or mobile workers, since these content filtering policies are applied to the device regardless of whether or not it's connected to the corporate network, a public Wi-Fi network, or even the employee's own home network. Second, we have web filtering that is performed by a centralized proxy. A centralized proxy or proxy server is a server that acts as an intermediary between the organization's end user and the internet. When a user makes a request to connect to a specific website, the proxy first goes to the proxy server, and then the proxy server will evaluate the request based on the organization's web use policy. If the request complies with the policies, the proxy server retrieves the content on behalf of the user and forwards the response from the web server back to the original user. If the request does not conform with your policies, then the request is simply blocked or denied, and a warning or error message will be returned to the user. Third, we have web filtering that is performed while conducting URL scanning. URL scanning is a technique that is used to analyze a website's URL to determine if it is safe or not to access. URL scanning will first check the URL requested by the user against a database of known malicious websites. If a match is found, the URL is deemed malicious and the user will be prevented from accessing that website. If the URL is not found in the database, it is assumed to be safe and the user is redirected to the website to access its content. Fourth, we have web filtering based on content categorization. Content categorization involves classifying websites into categories based on their content type, such as social media, adult content, gambling, or other often prohibited categories in a work-based environment. With content categorization, your organization can block or allow categories based on their own web usage policies. For example, a company might want to block pornographic or gambling websites since employees shouldn't be accessing them on company time. It used to be very common that social media websites were also prohibited at many organizations, but with the rise of social media marketing and social media customer service, most organizations allow at least some of their employees to access websites like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram from their company-provided computers. Fifth, we can use block rules as a form of web filtering. Block rules are specific guidelines set by an organization to prevent access to certain websites or categories of websites. For example, a system administrator might have noticed that there was a significant amount of data transfer from their web base to an unknown file server on the internet. This could be an indicator that someone is exfiltrating your sensitive data and sending it to a remote server. So, in this case, the system administrator might want to add the IP address of their remote file server to prevent any further communication between your network and the remote server, while the rest of the security team performs an incident response due to the suspected data exfiltration attempt. Six, we have reputation-based filtering. Reputation-based filtering involves blocking or allowing websites based on their reputation score. This reputation score is typically determined by a third-party service and takes into account factors like the website's history of hosting malware or engaging in phishing attacks. For example, let's consider an organization that uses a web filtering solution like a reputation-based filtering. An employee attempts to visit a website that they received via an email link. The web filtering solution checks the reputation of the website against a database provided by a third-party service. If the database reveals that the website has a low reputation score due to past incidents of phishing attempts and hosting malware, then the web filtering solution will block access to the website in order to protect the employee and the organization's network from a potential threat. Now that we have covered web filtering, let's take a look at an alternative filtering method known as DNS filtering. DNS filtering, or domain name system filtering, is a technique used to block access to certain websites by preventing the translation of specific domain names into their corresponding IP addresses. When a user tries to visit a website, their device sends a request to a DNS server to translate the website's domain name into an IP address. If the domain name is on a DNS filter's block list, the DNS server will not provide the IP address in order to prevent the user from accessing the site. If the website is not on the block list, then the IP address from the web server is returned and the user making the request is redirected over to the requested website. DNS filtering is a powerful tool to prevent access to malicious websites and is commonly used to enforce internet usage policies such as blocking access to inappropriate content in a given network. For example, schools and universities often use web and DNS filtering to block access to inappropriate content and ensure that their students are using the internet only for educational purposes. In these cases, the school or university might block access to sites that host social media accounts, adult content, or gambling. So remember, web filtering and DNS filtering are two important tools for ensuring the safe and productive use of the internet. By using web filtering and DNS filtering, your organization can prevent its employees from accessing malicious or distracting websites while enforcing your organization's internet and usage policies. Web filtering can be agent-based or agentless, and it can involve URL scanning, content categorization, block rules, and reputation-based filtering. When it comes to DNS filtering helps to prevent the translation of specific domain names to their corresponding IP addresses.